In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, which still looks relatively cold over the next 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I hate to be saying that this time of year, but that is just the truth of the matter. Even into early June, all we see signs of, at least in the eastern half of the nation, is cold compared to normal. And this is going to come in the form of an Arctic blast working its way down from northern Canada all the way into the United States. Of course, this doesn't mean freezing temperatures. It just means that there is an Arctic air mass diving southward. And these summertime Arctic blasts are obviously much less cold, comparatively to the wintertime ones, but compared to our normal temperatures this time of year, they're equally impactful. So we're going to take a look at that. There is a lot of severe weather still expected over the next few days, but after that, we should see things slow down as everything kind of gets shoved further southward. We'll discuss that a little bit more, but rainfall along the Gulf Coast and Southeast Coast, I think, could be on the rise actually in this upcoming pattern. I'll also explain that later on. So let's just take a look here at this temperature pattern, and the main feature to look at here over the short term is going to be what we call a negative PNA. This colder air mass out west is what a negative PNA is, and that's forcing this warm air to at least put up a really good fight against this cold air that we could see already in place. We have something like this set up. Again, that Arctic air is trying to invade currently, but this negative PNA is not allowing it to win. It's shoving all this warm air up. So we're getting this battle, and this is a lot of what our severe weather is coming from, this battle of the two air masses that is taking place currently in the east that we can see. As we move it forward, though, what we're going to see steadily happen is warm air to increase in the west. And what we see happening by Wednesday is a 50-50 PNA pattern where we have pretty much equal warmth to equal cold here. A little bit cooler to the north, a little bit warmer to the south, but really a neutral PNA at best. And what we see is the cold air is starting to work its way in and is starting to win out by midweek. This is Wednesday the 21st. And then Thursday the 22nd, things even worsen from here. We continue to see this warm air expanding. This cold air is expanding in the east as a result of that and working its way even further southward. If you're curious, the lighter blues on the outside of the green is 1 to 10 degrees below what is normal this time of year. The greens are 10 to 15 degrees below normal for this time of year. And then those kind of more purplish blues inside of the green, I hate how there's two blues, it's kind of hard to break down, but we have to, is 15 to 25 degrees below normal. So we see a lot of that for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast. I mean, that 15 to 25 degrees below normal is substantial. On the upper end of that, if your average temperature was, for easy math, let's just say 100 degrees. I know nobody up there averages that any time of year, but let's just say you'd be at 75. I mean, that is a huge difference when we're thinking about it in those terms. Really puts a hold on summer starting those types of departures from what's normal here. Thursday the 22nd. Friday the 23rd, we continue to see this pattern. Saturday the 24th. The only good news and the redeeming factor here is that it does start to become less potent as it sticks around. So that coldest time will be immediately once it moves in. Again, mid next week, or this week, I guess. So, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame here coming up. And it starts to alleviate some of those purplish blues, and we see at most, mostly greens. And again, that potency does die down over time. We do see some sparks of some cooler areas, but it's still around. There is an interesting point here, May 27th, where it almost looks like we want to go back into a negative PNA. We see these cooler temperatures starting out for the northwest coast, also working its way down the California coast. But as we're going to see on this model run, it really does not flip the pattern whatsoever. We see the warmth actually make a comeback in the west, and the cold continues to move into the east. This is June 3rd here, June 3rd, and we still have cooler temperatures here. So we're maybe looking at 10 plus days of cold air at least here coming up. And the good news, but take it with a grain of salt because it is at hours 360, is right here at the end we do get a solid move towards the negative PNA, and we do see this warmth beginning to move eastward. So one could only hope that we are at kind of the end of this cooler pattern here at the end of the model run. We will see the more typical or even warmer than normal conditions make a return here. So let's take a look at the Storminess, because again, we do have still days of severe weather expected here, at least through, Wednesday, at least through Wednesday. We have some severe weather expected with this current event that we're dealing with, and that does include a moderate risk for today on Monday the 19th. After that, like I mentioned, we should see most of the activity actually slip further southward for a lot of the Gulf Coast, and then up the southeast coast is what I'm currently anticipating. Now, the setup for today, and I do apologize, this video is coming out a little bit late, but it is what it is. At least we're making one, right? 995 here over western Oklahoma. We see the severe weather here just to the east of that low. That is what we are seeing. As we progress this towards tomorrow on Tuesday the 20th, we see this low moves almost northeasterly towards Iowa. We see a lot of our severe weather will likely be over the Ohio Valley, lower Midwest, some of the deeper south locations. That is going to be your primary area to watch. Then, as we transition towards Wednesday, which again will likely be the final day of this event, we see this weaker low now by this point over eastern Ohio. And we do have a threat for thunderstorms or severe weather along this more southeasterly area into the mid-Atlantic. If we notice the jet stream, though, this low is giving way to this first wave of this Arctic blast. So we see by Wednesday the 21st, we get a trough in the east, and it only worsens by Thursday the 22nd, which, if you remember, is kind of the peak of that trough. Here in the east, we end up with a nor'easter offshore of the mid-Atlantic and southern New England locations. This will bring some heavier rainfall up there. Obviously, some winds could be a threat as well for Thursday the 22nd there, as that is a pretty intense system. Lower 990s, that is a decent little nor'easter. And then what we see transpire is a lot of your precipitation here is going to look like this. This is Monday the 26th. We see it's much further suppressed to the south, and if a low was going to form, it would be somewhere in here. This limits the severe weather a bit because typically we're looking underneath lows, so to the south of where the low pressure system sets up for that severe weather. This kind of limits the actual space, the amount of territory that could be seeing a severe weather event from a low like this. And of course, there can still be major severe weather events like this, but they aren't as large swaths of regions as you would expect with a low. Much further to the north, where you could see, 10 plus states getting involved in a severe weather event. If it's all the way down here, we're looking at something that is a third, maybe even a fourth of the size. But some of these southern lows are more intense severe weather events. But really, I'm not seeing that here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, again, Gulf Coast, East Coast area. They're all riding along the jet stream, right? That's the important thing to note. So if we have a ridge here and a trough moving down, it's easy to assume that we are going to have storms moving along that jet stream. If we have a more neutral jet stream like we've had, the lows are riding through the center of the nation, which is exactly what we've seen a lot of. Sometimes they start further south and work their way up to the jet stream, but either way, that's kind of the pattern we were stuck in. Now everything's just sliding to the south. We see a second system just like the ones before it. Ends up being like a nor'easter here over New York City by June 1st. Heavy rainfall for a lot of these areas actually right here during this point. So there will be times where other areas are dealing with precipitation, but I feel like the deep south up the southeast coast is a safe bet for areas to see activity once we see this trough fully taking form. And this is actually the end of the model run. So let's move into the total precipitation. And really with everything that we have ongoing currently, plus everything expected afterwards, it's really everywhere east of the Rockies seeing mostly above average precipitation, especially here in this kind of corridor here from the central and southern plains into the deep south and kind of middle of the nation there. Looking at the anomalies, sure enough, like I said, I mean, if we take the Rockies eastward here, I mean, it is at least 75% above average, 25% below to the east of those Rockies, with the highest above average being this kind of area here, a little bit further to the south than it has been over the last couple of months. Storm Prediction Center outlooks, again, like I mentioned, we do have a moderate risk today. So let's address today first off. It is late in the day, so a lot of it has already happened, keep in mind, but there is still more to come. So we have a general thunderstorm risk in the lighter green areas, and that is where we expect general thunderstorms, as you'd probably guess. No severe weather is expected, but anything is possible, so I always say heat every watch, warning, and advisory. The darker green area there is going to be your level 1 marginal risk, where we expect isolated severe weather. The 2 yellow areas is going to be your level 2 slight risk, where we expect more scattered about severe weather. The orange area over a lot of the Midwest and plains is going to be your level 3 enhanced risk, where we expect a little bit more widespread severe weather to occur. And then certainly the red area there for parts of northern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas is your level 4 out of 5 moderate risk, where we expect widespread severe weather and maybe even a severe weather outbreak, major tornadoes, all that stuff in there, unfortunately. So keep that in mind. Looking towards day 2, we see the 3 general thunderstorm risk areas, a marginal risk, a slight risk, and as of now, at least an enhanced risk for Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It's certainly possible that we see a moderate risk tomorrow as well, especially if the rest of today is really, really bad. So far, all of these severe weather days recently have been really, really bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get an upgrade actually here, just because of that factor. The environment and the atmosphere just seems very, very potent for these major tornadic storms. So don't be surprised if we see an upgrade here. Also wouldn't be surprised if we don't. But that's where I would lean personally, is going on the higher end for, you know, whatever your thought process is. If you have a range of what you think things can be, I would be thinking on the higher end of it, just because of what the last few days have been like. And again, that's for Tuesday the 20th tomorrow. Day 3 here, Wednesday the 21st. I mentioned this a couple days ago, but the southeast kind of corridor is the primary area to watch. We have a general thunderstorm risk from Texas eastward across the Gulf Coast and then northward all the way to Ohio and Pennsylvania. The marginal risk is for West Virginia southward through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and into northern Florida there. And the low is weakening by this point. Cooler air is rushing in, and it seems like a lot of this activity would be occurring earlier in the day. So think more early afternoon, maybe even late morning for some of these spots, as opposed to like the early evening. So we're not getting the highest of temperatures here. We're not allowing for the sun and humidity to really bake before these storms hit. So that's why I think Wednesday looks a little bit less overwhelming compared to the other days prior to it. But still some dangerous weather might be occurring here for Wednesday the 21st. Again, probably a little earlier in the day, if anything. And as of now, we don't have any extended day outlooks, and I really don't expect any for probably a week plus. There could be, of course, but just based on the pattern that we're moving into, again, I don't see anything really, really major occurring. Hopefully I don't eat my words there, but certainly looking like we do get a little bit of a break here, fortunately, which I am certainly looking forward to, and I know a lot of you guys in some of these hot spots are really looking forward to as well. So let's all hope for that, of course. With all that being said, I upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.